Hello, Dylan. You are up next, sir.
Hey there, what's up?
How's it going, Dylan? Dylan, where are you playing out of?
We are playing out of the 7 Mile Casino in San Diego.
So a second call here from San Diego. What's the size of the game?
Yeah, this is 5-5, 1500 cap.
All right,
And this
5-5.
specific session had been playing with a mandatory $10 straddle on the whole time.
Oh, so 5-5 plus 10. Flat drop game again, 1500 cap. This is probably the largest game that they have there. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And how deep are you guys?
We are 2550 effective.
2550 effective. All right. So 5-5 plus 10, 1500 cap at 2550 effective. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So in this hand, so the effective +1 limps, and then the MP player who is a reg ISOs to 60.
So +1 limps, MP to 60.
Yep. +1 is a very recreational player. He had sat down at the PLO with $800, had spun it up into like 5,000, then moved over to the 5-5, and had coolered like 4 people back to back. And he had like a huge stack. So he covered me. And then the MP player probably had about 1,500.
So +1 and you are at 2550. MP is at 1500. I was just looking at the ISO size. It's pretty large, but I don't know if the MP is trying to like extract like huge value from this guy or what. Right? To plus and 5-5-10, and then 1 limp and then to 60.
Yeah, that's what I kind of read it into. The MP player is reggy enough to kind of know what's going on and want to get it heads up with this specific player.
Right. Okay.
So I'm next to act in the low jack with ace of clubs, 9 of clubs.
Oh, interesting. So ace of clubs, 9 of clubs. Wow, this is kind of an in-between one.
Yeah.
MP1 limps, MP to 60, hero in low jack with ace 9 of clubs. And I mean, I suppose, are all 3 options open here?
I felt like this was a bit of a Doug Polk spot with all 3 options very much on the table.
Yeah, Doug Polk. I didn't think about Doug Polk like that. Yeah, all 3 options on the table. I mean, I think your option to call would be a lot better if you were closing the action here. Again, we talk about it. It's a 3-blind game. That incentivizes you to get it more heads up as opposed to play like multi-way. But the only thing is the raise size is so large that sometimes you can take hands that you were going to 3-bet and just call with them because you're dealing with a very unorthodox raise size. So just the fact that like the size is 60 is going to drive people aren't, it's not like to 25 or something like that. What's the deal with the MP guy?
MP, he's a reg. I wouldn't say he's the best player in the world. I've definitely seen him make some pretty big mistakes, but I've played with him a number of times. He's probably a small winner in the game and is trying to play. It is aware enough to understand that he wants to play with this +1 limper who was like really bad.
I mean, that kind of makes me think that he might be raising here like a little bit wider than what would normal. So that would lean me towards 3-betting more often here as opposed to calling and just kind of driving the hand. There's obviously the option of fold here too. I mean, like if you had like ace deuce suited or ace 6, ace 7, even like maybe ace 8, you could fold. The ace 9, it's real close, right?
That's what I kind of thought. I think it's like ace 8, ace through ace 6, I'm probably just folding.
Yeah.
Ace deuce, I'm probably folding. Ace 5, I'm probably going like polar and 3-betting. Ace 9, I actually decided to call because I wanted to play with the limper. The limper is the one who's going to make, who I'm really deep with, and is the player who will make the biggest mistakes at the table.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I mean, we've talked about sometimes calling to like let the bad players in behind in certain types of situations. But I don't know, actually, I think I talked about this specifically last week with a hand. Like, I don't know if this specific hand is the one that I want to do it with. Like, when I'm thinking about doing that type of stuff, I'm thinking about calling with like ace king and like ace queen. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Queens and kings, stuff like that. Aces. Just because, now you've got like domination. Like, how do you just end up winning? I mean, things have to go like, what do you mean? How often do you overflush somebody? How often do you like flop trips with a guy and like have him out kicked? How often does he like limp call with like ace jack and you flop top 2 and somehow get his money in a single raise pot? It's not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So hero calls. Okay, and then what happens?
Folds back around and the limper calls.
All right, so limper call +1 calls, right?
Exactly what I wanted to happen did happen, but I definitely could say 3-betting, and it doesn't have to be a huge 3-bet. 3-bet to like 180, 200 could be better, or maybe just fold.
The pot's like $200, something like that now.
Like 195 because of the drop.
Okay, 195. Okay.
Flop is 8 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 6 of hearts.
8 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 6 of hearts. Wow. 8 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 6 of hearts here with ace 9 of clubs. Flops open-ended here. And on a 2-diamond board, you don't have the back door. By the way, what would you have done with 9-10 suited here?
I don't know. I mean, I might just be calling as well.
Again, that's even like another example of like how do you win? Like how do you get the money from the guy from up front? But it's interesting.
Do you think 10-9 suited is just a fold then?
I mean, I think I would either want a 3-bet or fold, to be honest with you. You know, because it's just that for sure. And then you look at like what about pocket 8s, 7s, and 6s too? I mean, maybe you have some calls. I'm just kind of trying to think about your range here in this particular spot. All right, so your 3-ways 195. Okay.
Yeah, 8, 7, 6s I'm probably calling. 10-9 suited, maybe calling. Anyways, limper checks. Pre-flop raiser now checks. And this is a pre-flop raiser who I think is aware enough to be checking some overpairs with me in the pot.
Really? At 5-5?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't like the best in the world, but he was passive. I had seen him check kings on 6-3 deuce flush draw, and he let me value bet off pocket 8s on like it was 6-3 deuce queen turn check river deuce, and he checks the river again
With queens.
And there was a queen on the turn, then deuce on the river, and I went for some thin value to get called by like ace high, and he snapped me off with pocket kings.
I mean, obviously we see this at the higher levels a lot. I don't really see it so much in the game that I play the most, which is Encore, which is like a lot of checking from up front, you know, with respect to like field callers type of situation. It might be theoretically correct here. The only thing I'll say, and I don't even know if there's necessarily a term for this. I mean, I don't think it's terrible to check back, right? But, you know, whereas if you have a guy that's always betting off his overpairs in the middle, and then he checks, and you can get, you know, he's going to fold out ace, queen, ace, king. I don't see how you don't take that spot to bet. But there's another thing here, too, that's going on, which is like, if you bet here, not only do you have, remember, he could have overpairs, like you said, but he could also miss and intend to check fold, right? But not only do you, if he's playing an overpair this way, so let's say that he has some overpairs. I'm talking about the guy in the middle now. He's got some overpairs and he's got some misses, right? If he's playing an overpair as a check call, he's going to check the turn to you, right? Because he's trying to do this out of like respect for the board. So you get this like one of these things where it's a semi-bluff. You have a bunch of equity actually against overpairs. You're probably like 45% with an overcard against like pocket kings here. Plus you will automatically get checked to on the turn. So you can make a case for this becomes almost a profitable bet with all those things like combined together. Semi-bluff, fold equity, chance of fold equity versus his continuing range, and the fact that you get to manipulate the pot with position. Now, you also have this other guy from +1, so there's always that chance that you might say, like, get raised or something like that if you were to bet. But I kind of like a situation where when you take the game tree node of betting, it's always going to get checked to you on the turn. I kind of like that. So I might lean towards bet here.
And yeah, that's what I did. Okay. And it might be wrong, but I sized up because I thought if he did have an overpair across 3 streets, he'd have a really, like if he has like jacks across 3 streets, if all the money goes in, I think he's going to have a tough time hanging on. Was my thought. I don't know if that's wrong.
That he would have you mean you're just going to go like balls to the wall, you mean?
Yeah, like if it goes bet, I think he might fold out an overpair across 3 streets if all the money goes in. Again, might be incorrect thinking, but I
don't know. I don't know if you have to do that. I mean, so but can't you just do that later on? Like my thinking here is like if you go 60 to 65 or something like that, and then he just folds out all his air, and then he calls with those hands, like you can start to size up later on, as opposed to like starting. Yeah, listen, like I've talked about like putting the fear of God into somebody, like betting large like right now. But in this particular case, I'm not sure if it's necessary, as opposed to just betting like 70 or whatever 1/3 is, something like that. What did you bet?
I bet 140. It's about 3/4.
Yeah, and the other thing too about 140 is you might. Well, I guess you're going to get yourself into a guessing game anyways against the guy from +1 if he calls, because he can have like anything like pair plus. Yeah, because there's like, if this guy if the limper calls and then the MP over calls, I guess you can make a case where you could even use the MP guy for leverage. But sometimes people start this and then they get afraid later on. I mean, I suppose it's logical if you are really going to just play this as bet, to possibly use this sizing. Just if you're really going to go bet, but there are some other variables that might happen here. So hero bets 140. Okay.
Yeah. And now the limper check raises to 340.
That's interesting.
Tiny little check raise.
So +1, this PLO guy, right?
Yeah.
To 340.
Yeah.
And then I assume the guy from MP folds?
Guy on MP folds.
The funny thing here is, before you tell me what you're going to do, I guess the MP has to fold out all one pair hands, right? That don't have any draws in them. Like if the MP has kings, it's so weird though, because like if I'm MP and I somehow play king this way, and I think the guy to my right from +1 just has no idea what's going on, I suppose you could make a case for calling, cold calling the check raise. I mean, I know I would have you behind me, but if I call and you just don't have anything, you might fold out. And I get to sort of see what +1 does. So again, a situation where like two decent players, let's say I'm in the middle and I've got kings and I check this and you bet, and then the other guy check raises, although it was a limp call. Maybe the other guy from the big blind. Yeah, you're going to just be forced to fold out pairs probably without draws. But here, it's kind of interesting for the MP guy if, the +1 guy was truly, truly bad. That doesn't happen anyways. MP folds. Okay.
And do you think this is a continue here, or is this just a fold?
I don't know what to think about the sizing here. So he goes to 340. The reason why it's a little bit strange is because usually on a texture like this, especially if a guy's coming from PLO, where he might not have like that necessarily like the best grasp on hand strength in given situations, if he had a 2-pair type of holding, he'd raise larger. Like this almost one strikes me like, what is he doing this with like ace-8 suited or something? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just strange. The sizing is kind of strange. Funny thing is, if he has ace-8, that's not the best for you, right?
Yeah, no, of course, that'd be a bad hand. Or if he has like 9-8 even, it's not a great.
So here's another thing too. How about I don't know if you thought about this, putting a wrinkle in this. If you say he came from PLO, right? And I'm saying that maybe he's overplaying some sort of hand. What would a PLO player, if you decide to continue here, notice the most on the turn? On 8 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 6 of hearts.
Board pairs?
No, I think diamonds.
Okay.
Diamonds. Like, this is one where I talked about this last hand where, like, you can go for a straight draw and bluff the flush draw.
Okay.
Like, if you call and diamonds come and he checks. Again, it's just a really strange sizing here. For me, like, and I don't know how many draws that he has here with this type of sizing, and it's odd for me that he would have like a 2-pair type of holding, but I would definitely continue here. I mean, the pot's going to be what? The pot is 680 and it's 200 for you to call. How do you not continue?
That's what I thought.
Right?
Yeah. So I called.
All right. So hero calls. Is anybody talking about bet 3-betting the flop here?
Oh, that would be a little maniacal, but I could.
Nate apparently disagrees with me. He says this is going to be sets 10-9, 4-5. I never think this is 2-pair with this type of sizing. I almost think it's almost like more of an overplay from a PLO type of player, but we all make our own interpretations. So 480, 680, and then it's probably what, 875?
875 to the turn.
And again, you guys are full stack, so I mean I mean, you have like 2,100 left, right?
Yeah, we're very deep.
Yeah. All right. So are you thinking about repping diamonds, by the way?
Yeah, I'm planning on turning my hand into a bluff on a lot. Yeah, continuing to bluff diamonds. If like the board pairs and he checks, I don't know.
I don't like that. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like that in Hold'em, but okay.
So turn 875 is the deuce of spades, so complete brick.
All right. So this is where we get to know about what this guy's hand is. I don't know. I mean, Dylan was kind of a late ad this week, so always people say, and what I try to do when I pick these hands is, Mike will send them to me if they're non-subs. Dylan is a sub, so I wrote this. You're a CLP sub, right? So I wrote this right away. I read it anyways from the sub thing. But literally, what I try to do is like I'll read the hand and then I kind of try to put it out of my mind. I immediately rank it, and then I try to kind of put it out of my mind. I'm genuinely telling you that. So I actually don't remember. Obviously, I read the hand, but I don't remember what's coming. And what I would say here is that classic CLP type of thing here, where if you get a same bet type of scenario, same bet or less on a true brick, which this is, it's never really a strong hand. Then we can debate, though, what is a strong hand and what is not a strong hand to some people. Sometimes people will confuse this concept, though, because they'll see like same bet or less on a subsequent street when the card really isn't a blank. Like somebody might have top two, and then all of a sudden, like the turn brings in like a over card that could make somebody else a higher two pair or like a straight draw. But this is a true blank. So I'm keenly interested in what this guy does for sizing. If he does bet, I'm assuming he's going to continue, but what does he do?
Yeah, so I swear when this happened at the table, I heard your voice in my head because turns 875 and he bets 240.
Wow. So I swear to God, I think this is a hand like 10-8 or 10-9 or something like that, or ace-8 or king-8. I just didn't think that this one was really consistent with like two pair. I mean, I said it so he bets 240. So +1 bets 240 after check raising to 340 in at 875. Now, the thing that I would be thinking about, though, is that if I'm going to raise here and somehow he calls, I have to be able to leave money behind to bluff him off of something like pair 10x plus a pair. Or excuse me, 9x plus a pair or 10x plus a pair or 5x plus a pair. And that would be pretty like 8-5 suited. I mean, that would be kind of weird. Like 9-8. I think I said 10-9 earlier and I misspoke. What I meant was pair plus open-ended 9-8. I think I said that a minute ago. Not the stone cold nuts, not 10-9. I meant 9-8. Maybe like a 10-8, ace-8, king-8, something like a 9-7-ish, something like that. Obviously, you have a 9 in your hand. But this would make it, I would really feel, I kind of want to raise this. Like, I kind of want to jump on top of this here a lot. I never thought that he really had a draw here either. So even if he calls, there's a lot of cards here. There's a lot of cards on the river that's going to make it really, really hard for him. But you got to watch your sizing and you got to leave enough left too. Again, you start this with 21. So like if you go to like, say, raise it up to like 700 and then he calls, the pot's going to be like 23 and then you guys will have like 14 left. So that would leave about maybe like 2/3, something like that.
Well, then you're making me feel a little bit less bad about this because I raised to 700.
Okay. Well, you actually raised to 700.
I raised to 700.
All right.
I thought this was, like you said, never a bluff. I don't think he's taking like 6x of diamonds or like 6-5, like some weird pair plus, like bottom pair plus draw. I don't think it's ever that. I don't even know if he check raises that. And if he does, he probably just checks turn. I thought in game it was 2 pair.
Really? You thought it was 2 pair and you're trying to get him off a 2 pair?
I thought it would be 8-7, 8-6, or 7-6 a lot, and that if all the money goes in on the river, it would get him off of it.
The problem with that, the problem with that though, is that I don't think he's coming off of that like on bricks and stuff like that. Like if I thought that there was enough 2 pair here that he had. I like a call here to bluff him at the end.
Really?
Yeah, because like if you raise now, you think he's just going to fold 2-pair now? Because
I don't think so.
Well, then what's the point of raising then?
Well, I thought if, let's say he has 2-pair,
Uh-huh.
he bets 240, I call, pot is 1375, 1350,
Mm-hmm.
and then he checks the river. I don't think if I move all in, he's folding.
That's fine. But I don't want to I don't want to the whole reason for me advocating raising here is because I think that there's a high amount of fold equity with what I thought his range was. Now I'm again not necessarily agreeing with what you think it is. I just don't it just doesn't seem like a lot of 2-pair here the way that this one went down on true bricks. But if I have no fold equity on the turn, then why don't I just call and try to bluff him off a scary card anyways at the end? Because here's the thing. If you raise now and he doesn't fold 2-pair, let's say he calls, and then the river's like a brick, like an offsuit 3. Is he going to fold now when you move in? Is he going to fold now with 2-pair when he called the turn on a brick?
I thought so. That might have been a...
Why would he call and then like... Why would he call turn and then call river? I mean, then fold river like on a brick. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if you need to risk it. Personally, like I said, I'm going in a different direction. Like, I actually don't think he has much. I actually don't think that he has much 2-pair here. But the other thing that's interesting, though, too, is that in these situations, like, even if I'm correct and I raise to 700, he can still call with hands that will fold out to the river. And I'm not talking about 2-pair. I'm talking about like pair plus straight draw types of holdings. So that's what always makes it interesting on these 3 straight types of boards. So you go to 700.
Part of my thought process was this already by the turn was a very large pot for this game. And I think a lot of this pool can actually overfold sometimes when the pots get huge.
Okay.
Might be incorrect. Anyways, river.
So he calls.
Yeah.
And what calls. Did you gain it? Did you sort of get any type of read by the way that he calls?
It kind of scared me. He almost looked like he was going to 3-bet all in. And of course, if he does that, I just snap fold.
Right. So the pot now is 2275. And you guys, what you have, well, like right around 1400 or so left, right? And change.
Yep. 1450 left, 2275 back. Or 2275 in the pot.
Right.
River is the 5 of clubs.
5 of clubs. So you make a straight.
Yes, make the straight.
Well, now you have to.
Yeah.
Now, and does he check to you on the river?
He does check.
All right. So limper. So +1 checks. This is always so funny, right? So funny. Like when you make a hand now, this demonstrates some like kind of unbalanced play, but it is what it is. Like in certain situations, right? Like, you know, you make your hand. You've got the best hand here a ton, especially when he checks. Versus like a situation where you somehow, I'm trying to think of what you might have here. Like if you actually had like front door diamonds, like some sort of like Jack 10 of diamonds or something like that, and you played it this way, and then, you know, you want max fold equity, you think about like betting, try to get him off of it. Here, you know, you're going to have the best hand or chop like 90 to 95% of the time, and it's such a bad run out for anything that he might have. I still personally don't think he has 2-pair. I still think he might have like some other type of thing. So the pot's 2275. He checks. I might bet 400 here.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I might bet
just
400.
to get him to call like with like 6-5 or no, like what would he call? Like some random 8x?
Yeah.
Like ace 8?
Something, yeah. You know, somehow he convinces himself that you missed diamonds or something like that.
Okay.
So what did you do?
I moved all in, 1450.
And?
He takes about 5 seconds and calls, and I thought I was chopping always.
Uh-huh.
And he rolls over 5-4 offsuit.
5-4 offsuit. So he flopped the bottom end of it?
Flopped the bottom end of it.
And he didn't 3-bet all in on the turn. Wow.
Nope.
Well, that is really, really something. Now, the funny thing about that, though, is that I don't like I mean, we can debate the whole line. I still don't like your bet at the end, especially when a 5 comes. Because if the only way that he has bottom, you thought that when he called, you were chopping, right?
I thought he had 9-8.
So how can your bet be correct then?
Because I don't know.
Right?
I think I just got there
Like
and
if
got
he,
excited.
okay, but I was saying, like, if you think like, oh, when he calls, we're chopping. I'm never gonna get called by anything like that's like worse. Then you have to size down, right? Now, with the one exception here, though, of him somehow having a 4. But again, that is a little strange, specifically 5-4. Less likely that it's going to be 5-4 when a 5 comes at the end. But yeah, that is definitely one that is very bizarre. I assume if you just called turn, he very well might check river looking at a one-liner to a 9, even with 5-4, and then he's probably going to call. But wow, that's a very interesting one. Thank you very much for the call, Dylan. I appreciate it.